Good afternoon, everyone. This is Dr. Diggs. It's another beautiful day out here in the Pacific Northwest. Today, we're going to be talking about the Leviathan VC and everything you need to know in regards to it and the Leviathan Esper. Now, this might actually be kind of a controversial video, but I want to make sure that I express kind of both sides of Leviathan, because I think depending on who you are, depending on the composition that you're running, Leviathan is either a must pull or is a 100% skip. And even in the process of making this video in theory crafting, I myself have kind of changed my opinion to more the side of Leviathan might be a must pull. Let's talk about why. A lot of it has to do with the global exclusive buff. So Leviathan's ability is going to give attack 10% to sword-wielding main job classes that it's on. It's also going to give Crash Edge, which is increases damage as HP decreases attack. And in the global exclusive buff, it is going to give slash attack up and HP up to light element and water element sword-wielding characters that the card is equipped on. Party-wide, the effect is going to give pierce resistance 20% for allies. So when you're first looking at this, without the global exclusive effect of HP up and slash attack up on water element and light element sword wielding units, you're kind of like, okay, I could probably skip this, right? Even with the predominance of Kain, you know, there are other VCs that offer very comparable effects as Leviathan, right? Odin being one very clear, almost identical example, right? While 20% single attack resistance is not necessarily the same as 20% pierce resistance for the party, it's up there, right? It's up in that category of 20% damage resistance that would be very effective against Kain, right? All of Kain's attacks are single attack target for the most part. But when you're thinking about Leviathan in terms of the future, a lot of people are like, oh my god, Leviathan's going to be great for Titus. Like, I am planning for Titus, and I can't wait for Leviathan for Titus. And I actually think that's not a good idea. I think Leviathan is probably not a card designed for Titus. You might be able to use it on Titus in the future, but I think it's more likely that you will be using the Final Fantasy X cards that came out alongside Titus with Titus, particularly since we haven't seen global exclusive buffs to the Final Fantasy X cards yet. Most likely, we're going to be using those with Titus. Leviathan, you could use with Titus if there were maybe predominant Pierce units in the meta. So like when you think about when 9S is coming out in JP, you might be running Leviathan for the Pierce attack resistance against 9S with Titus. But I think where Leviathan is really going to come in is with that global exclusive buff right now. And I think he's actually going to enter into our kind of global composition a little bit earlier than normal. And the reason I think this is because of Sakura's release next week. Sakura is planned to be released next week. She is a light element unit. A lot of people have been waiting for Sakura, right? Like, Sakura has been the unit where people are like, I want her no matter what. I'm gonna get her. And she has kind of the first light element mastery ability that's really going to be relevant in terms of buffing light attack for allies, in terms of buffing HP for allies. And we've seen these mastery abilities with Christmas Ramada, and with all of these other units, right? Where it's like, okay, you know, they haven't really made a difference in the meta, but Sakura is going to be the first unit where she's a very relevant unit in terms of arena, in terms of guild battles, in terms of all types of content. She's going to be powerful, she's going to be dominant, and she's going to have that mastery ability. So if you consider that mastery ability in partnership with Leviathan on a light slashing unit that's already in the composition being modified by her mastery ability, it's just going to add power and it's going to add capability to light units in compositions with Sakura. So it's not a coincidence that Leviathan's individual unit buff gives light sword-wielding units HP up and slash attack up. And it's really going to matter how much HP up it is and how much slash attack up it is, right? Not only that, giving pierce resistance 20% is going to help counter, in many situations, Kain, right? So we're entering this situation where is quite possible, depending on how much the individual unit effect is on Leviathan, that Leviathan is like a VC setup for Sakura. Not that Sakura is going to be using Leviathan, but that you're going to be pairing Sakura with Warrior of Light, for example. You're going to be pairing Sakura with potentially Engelbert, or potentially Ramza, or potentially any of these other light element sword wielding units that can kind of help protect and support her. Thancred is another great example here. So in terms of the Leviathan VC, it's really interesting to consider how Leviathan might potentially change our meta, because these small adjustments are kind of what they're trying to do in global to change things around, right? They're changing a dial here, a dial there, trying to prepare us for Yuna, right? They just released the Scion card last week, right? That's another buff if you are planning on going a light element unit composition. So kind of everything they're setting up right now is for, you know, Thancred and Sakura to become dominant for a while, potentially for a couple weeks, when she does come out. Whether it's Thancred or whether it's Cecil or Warrior of Light, there's a whole bunch of different options. But I do think, oh, hello, Cheshire. My fat cat wants my attention. I do think we will be seeing probably the beginning of the birth of sort of this light element composition coming out that is designed to try and counter dark element comps as well. Wow, okay, that took a lot of talking, guys, and I hope a lot of that made sense for you. I have definitely changed my opinion on this card with the global exclusive effect. I was originally like a not pull, but now I'm probably a 100% will pull and will max out before Sakura comes out, just because I feel like I'm probably going to need this card, since I am going to be going a light element composition pretty hard. Let's talk about the Esper, though, because the Esper is also pretty relevant. Also, since I talked about Titus for just a little bit, the Final Fantasy X card gives attack 30% for single individual water units, and it gives slash attack up 35 for water allies, and critical hit rate 13 for water allies, and HP 25% for water allies. So like I said, I'm not sure you're always going to be running Leviathan on Titus, but something to think about there. The Leviathan Esper is the Leviathan Esper. I don't think we're going to be seeing a lot of Leviathan Esper play. Couple reasons for that. We might see it used as a defensive Esper. I mean, it does have confusion resistance. It does have water attack up, so it's going to be the first Esper to kind of focus in on these elemental buffs. I think Typhon is going to be a much more relevant Esper, giving wind attack up than Leviathan giving water attack up. Leviathan is going to give, though, pierce attack resistance, which will be powerful, confusion resistance for you to counter Agrius, so there is that relevance there. But other than that, unless you're running like Glaciella or something, I don't think you're going to be doing just like a shit ton of Leviathan right now. I also want to talk about Leviathan's stats because they're a little bit troubling. You would think like, oh, maybe I can run Leviathan on Ildira. You could, but honestly, his magic stat is pretty low at 47. He's definitely focused more on attack at 91. And his agility is only 13, which is not the fastest Esper out there. It's okay, but it's definitely not going to be like mega speedy. Like I just threw Odin on my unit and they're so fast now. You're still probably going to be better off, you know, throwing something on Ildira like Shiva or Diablos. So I feel like compared to when Typhon comes out, where Typhon is like an obvious choice for Halloween Leela, for example, Leviathan's just kind of here, right? He might be really good for like Glaciella, but even then we have like Titan for Glaciella. So it's like, do we really need Leviathan for her? I mean, it's up in the air. So I'm not too keen on the Leviathan Esper, but I do think that the Leviathan VC is going to be pretty relevant. I encourage you guys to prove me wrong. I've definitely kind of flip-flopped on my opinion on this ever since I really kind of sat down and looked at what's coming and, you know, maybe potentially the relevance of light element builds. So let me know down in the comment section down below. As always, everyone, make sure you use my affiliate link if you are pulling for Leviathan. Go to dig.gs/coins. And everybody, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I hope to see you on stream tomorrow. Bye-bye.